take off, take flight with you. Yeah, we never fly, but we're flying.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Take Flight Podcast. This is episode number 229, and it's part of our solo takeaway episode. This week's episode will be hosted by myself, OLU OKUNOLA. In this week's episode, I want to talk about stocks and shares ISA and the 5th of April and why that date is so important. But before we get started, let's start with a disclaimer. This podcast is for information purposes only. Matters discussed are not intended to provide and should not be relied on as investment, accounting, legal, or tax advice, or any recommendations. The views and opinions presented are those of the four hosts of Take Flight Podcast, and these may change. We advise that you seek or obtain independent professional advice in relation to your personal circumstances. Let's get started. What is a stocks and shares ISA? Now, ISA stands for Individual Savings Account. A stocks and shares ISA is a tax wrapper. What this means is it allows you to invest in the stock market tax free. So any investment growth, interest earned on your investment will be absolutely tax free, meaning you'll pay zero tax. Now, normally, if you were to invest and made capital gains or profit, you'll be taxed between 10 to 20% based on your tax rate. Now, let's break this down into a real example. If you were to have an investment of around 50K, you made 100% return, so another 50K profit. So now you've got 100K. If you don't have a stocks and shares ISA, you would have to pay tax of around 8,763K. Now, in comparison to if you did have that money and you invested within a stocks and shares ISA account, you would have to pay zero. Yes, I said it, zero tax. So this is absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to investing, growing your wealth, there's a few things you're trying to do. One, protect your money, protect your investment. Two, you're trying to grow that investment, so making some sort of return. And then thirdly, you're trying to reduce the amount of tax you pay legally, obviously. So by using the stocks and shares ISA, any investment growth or interest earned means you get 100% of your money, zero tax paid. Let's go through a few frequently asked questions. So firstly, what do you need to open a stocks and shares ISA in the UK? You need to be over the age of 18 and have an NI number. Second question, where can I open an account? There are multiple platforms out there. I personally use Trading 212 because there's zero commission when investing and there's no fees to use their platform. There's also other investment platforms that you can use, such as Vanguard, which again, there's no fee for using their platform and is also low costing. The next question I get quite a bit is, what should I invest in? Now, this depends on your risk profile, but for the majority of people, I believe you should invest in a diverse index or ETF. So something like the S&P 500, which is 500 of the top companies in the US, such as Apple, Amazon. It's not you picking an individual stock because that's very difficult. Instead, you're picking 500 of the top companies in the US, and you're saying that I believe in the next 5-10 years, the US market is going to grow more than it is today. So that is how I would go about investing. Next question I get is, how much should I invest? And how often should I invest? Now, personally, I like to do something called dollar cost average, which is every single month you allocate a certain amount to put into your investment, your stocks and shares ISA account, and automatically invest in those funds that we mentioned before. So that can be £100, that can be up to £1,667 a month, which will take you to the limit that you can put into the account. But the key thing I focus on is finding an amount that I'm happy to invest every single month. And I know I can leave in my investment account for a long period of time, if that's 5+ years. Another question I get is, what is the maximum you can put into your stocks and shares ISA per year? The answer to that is 20K. But it is important that you put that money into your stocks and shares ISA before the 6th of April 2024. So that means when this episode comes out, you have a few days to be able to use up your full allowance for the year of that 20K before a new 20K, a new yearly allowance happens, which will, like I mentioned, will be from the 6th of April to the 5th of April the following year. So each year you have 20K that you can contribute to your stocks and shares ISA. The next question I get quite a bit is, can I take money out of my stocks and shares ISA? Yes, you can take money out of your stocks and shares ISA at any time. But as I mentioned before, the maximum you can contribute is 20K. So for example, if you were to put 10K at the beginning of the year, and then you were to take out that 10K, right? You're only able to contribute another 10K. You can't say, hey, now because I've taken money out of that account, I want to now put an additional 20K in there. No, it takes into consideration your intake. So the maximum amount of intakes you can put into your stocks and share ISA, like I mentioned before, within the year is 20K. But at any time, you can take money out of your stocks and shares ISA. The next question I get quite a bit is, what if I'm not ready to invest into stocks at this precise moment, but I've got cash in my bank account? Now, that's a perfect scenario to be in. You might have your emergency fund, but you're not ready to pick any stocks. You haven't done your research into stocks. You don't know what stocks to put in. I use a platform called Trading 212, which allows me to transfer cash into my stocks and shares ISA. And as it's sitting in my account as still cash, so not investing in any stocks, indexes, ETFs, still sitting in my account as cash, they provide me with an interest rate of 5.2% on my money. So my emergency fund, I can leave in my stocks and shares ISA. I can earn currently 5.2% on Trading 212. And at any time, I'm able to pull out that money. Now, I hope those questions and answers that I've given you have been really helpful. This year, I was able to contribute 20K to my stocks and shares ISA, so use the full amount. And the way I was able to do that was really following 3 simple steps, which you should also follow. 1, find a platform. Find a platform to invest in. Make sure it's low cost, low fees, low commission, such as Trading 212 or Vanguard. 2, set up a stocks and shares ISA account. So most platforms will have multiple different accounts that you can open up. The key thing you need to do is select that you want to open a stocks and shares ISA account. This would mean that the money, the investment, the growth within that account will be in a tax wrapper. So any growth on that investment, you won't have to pay any tax. But it's key that you select stocks and shares ISA. And the third step is set up an automated process to contribute into your account every single month a fixed amount and automatically invest in a fund or an ETF, such as the S&P 500. So I hope you found this episode really useful. I didn't go into too much details for beginners, but I did do an episode number 162, which went into more detail on investing as a beginner. If you haven't yet seen that episode, go and check it out. But for now, take care. I hope you found this episode really useful, and God bless.
Take off.